Thanks for tuning in to the Metal Forge Reviews. We are talking about our top April albums. I would like to start with mine. First up, we have Detroit-based melodic death metal band led by Trevor Strnad and Brian Eschbach, The Black Dahlia Murder, coming in with their 9th full-length album, Verminous, on Metal Blade Records. I thought it was one of Black Dahlia's most ambitious records to date. Let's listen to a quick clip of one of my favorite tracks off of that, Child of Night. So to me, this album feels almost like Ritual Part 2. I really like just the variety of music on this album. It's very forward-thinking for Black Dahlia. And I also love that they're not afraid to just consistently release albums that, clock in around 35, 40 minutes, which I think might kind of intimidate some other bands, but they're just constantly churning out material. They've been around for so long. It's been almost 2 decades now that Black Dahlia's been at it. They really are proving to be one of the U.S.'s finest melodic death metal acts. Obviously support them. They are on Metal Blade Records, so their material is easily found out there. So you can also check them out on Bandcamp, the Metal Blade Records website, etc., etc. So now we're going to take it over to Brandon.
Thanks, Ben, for the punch. And speaking of punch, punch has nothing to do with this next one at all. But, this is Spell Opulent Decay. This is the hypnotizing heavy metal band from Vancouver, Canada. These guys are killer. We actually recently did an interview with Cam Mesmer of the band to get a sneak peek of how they recorded everything and what they did for the album. This is their 3rd full length. Came out on April 10th on Bad Omen Records. It is everything that is old school. If you like, the 70s, the 80s, and that psychedelic vibe approach to heavy metal, I think this is something that you would really enjoy. Let's throw it to a clip real quick. My favorite track was Deceiver off this record, but it's a close second with the title track, which is Opulent Decay. But let's check out a clip of Deceiver. So that was Deceiver by Spell. This is a fantastic band, as you can hear. Give these guys some support. Their album came out on April 10th on Bad Omen. They've got a ton of physical merch on Bandcamp. Absolutely deserve the support. Pick up something and check them out. Next one is to Ben. Take it away.
Thanks, Brandon. That was a great album. Love that interview with Spell, Cam Mesmer in particular. Didn't interview the whole band, so, I don't know why I said Spell. But Cam was really cool, very knowledgeable, very humble. My next album on here on our top 10 list is Funeral Leech, their album Death Meditation, which is their debut record on Carbonized Records. Let's throw it to a clip of their crushing death doom song, Lament. So Funeral Leech came in very strongly with their debut record, Death Meditation. I really liked the surprising elements of this because, typically when you think of like brutal death doom, you're thinking of like a steamroller and just pounding riffs, brutal riffs, which you will get. But there's also some really cool like choral elements, which is a nice surprise for this type of music. It's like very creepy. There's like whispering and like reversed whispers and stuff like that. So definitely make sure that you listen to it with headphones on. You'll really get the full experience. Don't expect much variety off of this album. Kind of everything that you just heard in Lament is basically kind of what you're going to get, which is one of the reasons why I chose that song in particular. But if you're really a fan of that type of like viciously brutal, gritty, heavy death doom, you're really, really going to like this. There's a lot of a wall of dissonance, very sweet riffs, pounding riffs. I'm really looking forward to what else Funeral Leech has to offer moving forward. You can support them through Carbonized Records Bandcamp, which we will link below. Now I'm going to throw it over to Brandon.
Thanks, Ben. That was really great. Actually, the Carbonized lineup in general, they have a killer roster. So don't just check out Funeral Leech, check out some of their other stuff too. So keeping with the death metal vibe, we're going with the old school sound. We've got Live Burial, Unending Futility. This is out on April 24th on Transcending Obscurity Records. This is old school death metal, in my opinion, at its finest. They're based out of the UK. They started in 2012, and they just released their second full length. The album is equal parts desolate and shimmering with dismal sounds of all the best pieces of death metal. Let's throw it to a clip real quick, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about. So that was Live Burial, Unending Futility. Check out these guys on Bandcamp. Check out these guys on Bandcamp. They have a killer production with the old school death metal sound. It's dripping with gross and catchy songwriting. This is an album of the year contender for me. This is for fans of early Asphyx, Morgoth, and Death. Really awesome cover artwork. Fun fact, it was actually done by Luke Oram from Sludge. Killer band. Live Burial, Unending Futility. Check them out. To you, Ben.
Thanks, Brandon. I almost called you something else for some reason. Yeah, no, I really like that album by Live Burial. It actually reminded me a bit of, like you said, Death's early releases. I love like the independence of like the bass lines and things like that. Kind of reminds me of like Steve DiGiorgio's work. On another topic, on another one of our bands that we have here on our top 10 list, we have Angel Grinder's Confessions of the Damned, which was released April 24th, which is an independent release, something that we only have a couple of those on our top 10 list, but we're always happy to support independent artists, and they are a groovy death metal band based out of Boston, featuring members of Concilium, Noctuous, Scaphism, and Abnormality. And I'm going to throw it to a quick clip of one of my favorite tracks off that album, Axe to Grind. Hope you like that clip from Angel Grinder. The album really ebbs and flows between the vocal performance of Eden Reyes and the riffs, which are just super catchy, very like Slayer meets Decapitated with the grooves and the melodies and the leads. It's once again another very strong debut record that is featured on this list here. I also just did a reaction video to their video 731, which is obviously one of the songs off of Confessions of the Damned. So if you are into gritty HM2 buzzsaw Swedish sounding death metal, you're really going to like Angel Grinder's Confessions of the Damned. You can support them on Bandcamp. They have some very nice merch, so go check them out. Brandon, over to you, please.
Awesome pick, Ben. I actually really like this album as well. These guys are just killer musicians all around. Eden has a great voice. Stan he's primary songwriter for the band, and he's a killer musician. All things worshiping all 90s and great death metal. So next one we got on this list, keeping with the old school vibes, we have Lord Vigo, Danse de Noir. This is an epic doom gothic 80s mashup. I absolutely loved this album. It came out on April 10th on High Roller Records. They're epic doom, absolutely killer atmosphere. They're from Germany. And this release was sort of a departure from their other records where they incorporated sort of a gothic and 80s pop fusion. Let's throw it to a clip real quick, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So as you can see, the way that they've introduced the 80s and pop elements and the gothic elements, it interweaves so well with the epic doom sound. This band started in 2014, so they've been around for a little while now, but it was really cool to see this departure and try something new. This is, again, their third full length. I love the production on this album. It sounds like an 80s timepiece. It takes me right into the world with the album artwork. Really, really killer album artwork. Extremely refreshing record. Pick it up. We loved it. They've got vinyls, tapes, and CDs on Bandcamp. The album artwork is super badass. It reminds me of, 80s sci-fi films, and I'm a huge gaming nerd, so the Wastelander games and the Fallout games. Ben, Fallout games?
Hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah.
Check them out. Pick up something on Bandcamp. Give them some support. Ben, to you.
Thanks, Brandon. Luckily, I survived that machine gun blast. Yeah, no, I really liked that Lord Vigo record. That was really cool. They have a unique style of their own. I'm not familiar with their back catalog, but I am very intrigued to check it out. Kind of reminded me a bit of Tiamat and early Pyogenesis. So if you're a fan of those bands, definitely check that out. Next on my list is probably my top album of April, possibly contender of the year for me, because if you know me at all, you know that I love melodic death metal. This is Wolfheart's Wolves of Karelia on Napalm Records. It came out a few weeks ago now on April 10th. Wolfheart, if you aren't aware, is the brainchild of Thomas Sokinen, is a unique melodic death metal act with Finnish undertones. The Finns really do melodic death metal and doom and melodic doom very uniquely. I think that they have something unique versus the other Swedish and Norwegian bands that kind of do similar styles. This is their fifth full length on Napalm Records, and I'd love to throw it to a clip of my favorite song, Arrows of Chaos. This album is wonderfully paced. It is a concept record. I believe it's Thomas's grandfather who fought in World War II against the USSR at the time. Another historically based record with a lot of influences and inspirations from true stories. And it really does. It feels like a record that was written in the middle of a war, because there are moments of just brutal fury contrasted by beautiful introspection, acoustic passages followed by songs with just blistering blast beats and just in-your-face riffs. Thomas is so good at writing these awesome melodies, and really is one of Wolfheart's best records. My top contender. Maybe for album of the year, and easily my top pick for the month of April. You can support them through napalmrecords.com, support them through their Bandcamp. Just a really, really great record, Wolfheart. And throwing it over to you, Brandon.
I also loved the Wolfheart record. I couldn't put it on my list because you had it covered, and I think it's also probably my favorite from April. But yeah, I'm not surprised these guys came out swinging. Absolutely killer album. A little bit of a deviation from melodic death metal. My next on my list is Ulcerate, Stare into Death and Be Still. This just came out on April 24th on Debamir Morty Productions. They are from New Zealand, and they are masters of technical death metal. This is actually their sixth full-length album, so they're sort of seasoned at this point. It's an extremely refreshing take. For me, death metal it's hard to for me to always get into it. It needs some sort of other vibe with it for me to get into that sort of thing. Either it needs to be groove or, like you had mentioned, choir elements on that Funeral Leech record. For Ulcerate, they are masters of atmosphere. They add slow builds of stuff. They add so much amazing, interesting elements that just you wouldn't normally see on a death metal record. So this is something that is pretty high on my list. Potential actually album of the year list contender for me. Here's a clip. Check it out. So that was Ulcerate, Stare Into Death and Be Still. Again, that came out on April 24th. The production on this album is gorgeous and super clear, which is something that is really cool for a death metal band that's doing the atmospheric stuff. It lets you pick up on everything that's intricate that they're trying to convey on the recordings. There's a lot to it, but it's still somewhat of a relaxing album to me in some way. I don't really understand why, given it's like brutal metal. They've got shirts, records, CDs on Bandcamp. Pick something up, share them around. These guys are freaking awesome. This is a potential album of the year list for me. Now we're going to throw it back to Ben, and I'm going to punch you in the face again. Ready?
I guess so. Please punch me. Wow, I handled that really well. Yeah, no, that Ulcerate record seems amazing. I haven't sat through the whole thing yet. I'm not entirely familiar with them, but I know that every time that they come out with an album, everyone talks about it. And it seems to really kind of shake up the world of like technical death metal and death metal in general. So definitely keep an eye out for that Ulcerate album if you're into that. Last on my list, we have already gotten through our kind of top 5. Thank you for sticking with us. If you are not already a subscriber of the channel, please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate that. And we thank you, everyone who takes the time out of their day to check out all our videos. You are awesome. Last on my list is Khemmis with Doomed Heavy Metal, which is a pretty interesting EP that they came out with on $20 spin. If you're not a fan of Khemmis and don't know who they are a epic doom metal band from Denver, Colorado, signed to Nuclear Blast. I thought that was a fantastic song. My thing with EPs is I don't mind when they come out. I think it's a nice way to kind of tease the audience. There's a couple covers on here. Their cover of Rainbow in the Dark is awesome. It's very unique. It's a great tribute. Their live tracks, they have one live track from each of their previous full lengths, and they're pretty good. They are very well mixed. But really the highlight of this EP is Bloodletting. Hands down, awesome song, wonderful vocals. Khemmis has beautifully sung vocals. Their tone is pretty standard for this type of, American kind of stoner doom. Kind of reminds me of like Paul Bearer and things like that. But I think Khemmis is in kind of a league of their own as far as the vocals go. So you can support them on 20buckspin.com, and you can also support them wherever Khemmis is located on the internets, Spotify, things like that. So thank you for sticking around for my top 5. And last but not least, we have Brandon's final record of our top 10 records of April. Brandon, I'm going to bazooka you. Get ready.
Survived. I survived that somehow. I don't know how I did, but I don't think anyone's going to survive this last suggestion. No, you'll survive fine. It's actually not that crazy, but this is Aara and Ergo Einai. I probably butchered the shit out of that, so I apologize. This is an atmospheric black metal band from Devermer Morty Productions. They are a black metal band from Switzerland, and they are atmospheric black metal at its finest. They were founded in 2018, and they've returned only a year later from July 2019 with a second release that is absolutely killer. This new album is inspired by the Age of Enlightenment from the 18th century Europe time. So you can hear it all over this record. Even the album artwork, which is totally killer, is indicative of this. So let's throw it to a clip real quick, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about. That was Aara. I absolutely loved this album. This is a really, really great example of balancing the typical tropes of atmospheric black metal, but also doing some new things. So I love the production on this. They go for a clarity with the drums. The drums are punishing, heavy, awesome, everything you would want. But the guitars are still that typical noisy, gross, gritty sound that you would want from a black metal release. Trademark organic black metal sound. Pick this up. They absolutely deserve your support. They've got CDs available on Bandcamp, and yeah, they are an awesome band. This was super hard to pick a top 10. I think we had like 17 albums on the list.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. May is looking like a pretty busy month as well, but I have some album of the year contenders just from April. So any last words, Ben?
No, like you said, I think this was it was tough to kind of whittle through these lists, but I think that this is a list of albums that we were both looking forward to, and a couple surprises too. Some bands that we didn't really weren't really aware were coming out with some albums, and maybe a couple that I wasn't really aware of that really even existed. So I love all the support that you all have given us, all of the suggestions that you all have given us. Really make a big difference to this channel, really make a big difference to us as music consumers. So thank you so much for all your support. We look forward to more engaging conversations with you, and really looking forward to the rest of this year as far as metal releases go. Thank you so much. Make sure to like, subscribe, watch our past catalog of videos, and be well, take care, stay safe out there.